Today I want to do a really fast, a really simple but very effective engine performance upgrade to my 1997 300 TDI Land Rover Defender. To do this, I picked up a 300 TDI tuning kit from 4bs.co.uk. Comes with a boost controller, boost pin, boost string, a number 10 socket for some reason, plus an exhaust gas temperature gauge and probe adapter. I'll put a link in the notes. I've been assured by 4B, well the guy I spoke to at 4B, that a simpleton like me can fit this to this engine. So I guess we'll see what happens. I had a basic idea of what I was meant to do, but no instructions were supplied. Maybe I'm not as smart as other Land Rover owners. I knew the boost pin had something to do with the fuel injection pump, but I couldn't find information how to remove it. But now I know what it looks like. I think it's this. Access was tricky because of the coolant expansion tank and the aircon system, but it'd be way easier just to move the expansion tank out of the way. Then I could carefully remove the cover of the fuel injection pump, take out the boost pin and the rubber diaphragm, and head over to the workbench. This is the original boost pin, which controls the fuel intake into the engine, and it has a direction which I need to be mindful of. The shape determines how aggressively the engine gets fuel, and so hopefully the new pin will be more Superman and less Clark Kent. This simple upgrade is rumoured to increase power by up to 25%, and in a 27-year-old 4x4 you need all the help you can get. This dot here needs to face in the same direction as this here, and that dot needs to face to the front of the engine. The install is the same process in reverse, including putting the coolant reservoir back. So there are 3 more parts to this engine upgrade. I don't think I'm going to get to them all today because one of them, the boost ring, it's in a pretty inaccessible part of the engine, and because this is an aircon model, the aircon has to be taken out for this 1-minute job to be done. Land Rover. The second is a boost controller, and I don't even know how this works. I don't know how it fits. I don't think. I'll find out. And the third thing which needs to be fitted, which is quite important, is an exhaust gas temperature gauge. So it's like a little display on the dashboard, which helps you not cook the engine. So when it's getting really like towards 700 degrees Celsius, then you have to sort of calm down a little bit. So it just helps you have driving manners, I guess, so that you don't melt your engine. This blanking plate on the exhaust manifold needs to be replaced with this little guy, which holds the temperature probe in place. The exhaust system is one of the hottest parts of the engine, so the bolts don't like coming loose easily. A bit of WD-40 seems to help. I have to be careful because I need to preserve the gasket and reuse it, as I don't have a freshie. This is the next step. There's no instructions, so I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, I think that must bolt onto... Oh. That looks like they crimp together and hold this in place, and this goes in that plate that I just installed. And then this runs a route through the engine and pops out into the dash somewhere and then connects somehow this way. I don't know how it gets powered. How does it get powered? I'm insanely grateful for all those hours I spent playing Lego as a kid. I think you develop a sense in your mind of how things fit together. The probe slides in and the top nut tightens to hold it in place. Now comes the tricky part of routing the cable safely and neatly through the firewall and up behind the dash. The only place I can put it is here, so this has got to come out. Seeing the entrails of my car always freaks me out, so I thought I'd mark up where each plug went because it's a guarantee that I'll get it wrong when I reinstall it. Behind the panel, which I needed to modify, lay a bracket which I had to modify, meaning cut, to accommodate the new temperature gauge which I was about to install. And obviously I didn't have the correct tools. Next, I had to cut out a section from the panel to install the temperature gauge. It's so much bigger than it needed to be, in my opinion. Again with the wrong tools. One day I'll have lovely, precise cutting tools, but for now it's a case of using what I have, I guess. A satisfying snap. But soon it was my patience which would snap. Routing a cable around the engine bay, through a grommet, and up behind the dash was not my idea of a lovely Saturday afternoon. You can't push the cable because it's a squishy cable, so the only option is to pull it through. So I used some wire which wasn't squishy and tried to feed that through and then attach the cable to the wire and pull the whole thing through. The next step was to connect the temperature gauge to the wires I'd just pulled through. And let me say, at this point there are still no instructions. My thumb well and truly raw from sucking it. But I had to figure out how to wire up this gauge. I knew it needed power, but I didn't know which cables supplied it, so I poked around. Found them. So I wired it up as best I thought, remembering the plus and minus symbols, and it seemed to work. So I closed it all up and decided it was the right time to taste of the fruits of my labor. That sounds disgusting. I went for a test drive. Rainbow. Can only be a good thing. Alright. Let's go. We've got 94 degrees on there. Wonky dash. Wonky windscreen wipers. Let's do the maiden voyage. I have no idea what to expect. Let's have a go. Feels a bit more responsive, feels more modern. I don't know how to put it. The gauge is sitting at 237 degrees. I don't know, I guess that's good. I'm just at about quarter throttle, fourth gear, and I'm about to go on to 60. I'm just going to put my foot down. Oh yeah. That's noticeable difference. Yeah, it just feels a little more alive. Okay, this is an incline in fifth gear. Let's see how it goes. Yep. Up the hill in fifth gear. I mean, that's crazy good for this engine. It just feels smoother. The power delivery is like smoother. A bit of a hill here. Let's see what I do if I put my foot in fourth. Okay, a bit of black smoke out the back. 300 and... But it pulls, it's pulling. Doing 70, 80. Wow. That is a noticeable difference for sure. God, living in town is so different to living on the farm. You have to maneuver and drive around cars and concrete walls and things. Success, I think. Alright then, to sum up the day's activities, I fitted the new boost pin from Forbies and took out the old original one, and I'm not sure I can quantify it, but there is a noticeable difference in power and sort of power delivery and smoothness. It's much nicer to drive. I think it's just because we're used to more modern vehicles. Then the exhaust gas temperature gauge and probe was also fitted to the exhaust manifold, the wire run through, and that just helps you to kind of nurse your driving a little bit so that you don't cook the engine. And so those two things together are kind of hand in hand. Two more performance things to fit to the engine. This boost ring, which I might get my local Land Rover 4x4 place to do. And then the boost controller, again, I haven't got a clue what this does. So While they're doing this, I'll get Gumtree 4x4. It's our local sort of Land Rover kind of specialist, and they'll be able to explain what these two things do, and I think that will make a great second video. Hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for the next phase of the 300 TDI engine tuning, and by the end of it I think we should have a really nice, smooth and much more powerful and enjoyable engine to drive. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you very soon.